drivers for IT to green itself. A lot of governments across the world are establishing greenhouse gas regulations to drive the economy towards a green economy. They're asking corporations to report their carbon footprint of the whole organization. Failing that, there could be punitive action. In addition to that, they are establishing carbon price so that economically they can drive the behavior and the trend or trajectory of carbon emission towards a downward trend. And that is a driver for a lot of corporation to establish a business case for green IT. Going on to slide 3, it has been many times mentioned that information technologies own carbon footprint is about 2% as an average impact on the greenhouse gas climate change. That is equivalent to an airlines industry as per Gartner. That itself is quite a serious driver or a pressure on the chief information officer to think it's IT's own impact on the corporation, if not on the country. Secondly, energy was never measured as part of ICT's budget. It was always as part of facilities reporting or management, but now it is quite a significant budget impact it is creating. As you see from Gartner's research, it was 10%, now it is creeping towards 50% of the energy bills out of IT's consumption of energy, and indirectly creating carbon emissions. Another stats is that for every dollar you spend on hardware, on top of it you spend another 50 cents, if not a dollar, on power and cooling, and therefore again it is indirectly creating carbon emissions. So it was never part of CIO's brief to measure the efficiency of energy in the use of IT equipment. If you see on the right, there's a pie chart where cross ICT assets, the PCs, the servers, and all the front office assets, the mix of energy consumption as well as the carbon footprint of these assets. 2/3 of that is in the front office, which is the PCs, the networking gears, the printers, and 1/3 is in the servers, including the data center. So it is quite a holistic impact rather than just a data center on the climate change. What we say is that one needs to have a very strategic approach, a very holistic approach in tackling this problem across all the ICT assets, not only limited to data centers. So the slide 4, we suggest that the key drivers, the public image of the corporation or the shareholders' expectations, cost reduction targets, and the compliance, these are the inputs which are external to the corporation, and they are putting pressure in terms of changing the behavior and reducing the carbon footprint of the corporation. As I mentioned, a lot of regulations are coming into place. From a compliance perspective, one needs to adhere to it. Carbon price is another driver. Then the corporate social responsibility is another driver, which is an expectation from the shareholders' perspective. All these inputs must be taken in as a systems approach, and then generating a baseline, which is an accurate measurement of your carbon footprint of your ICT or IT assets, then you should analyze and generate or create a green IT plan, and then based on that plan execute uh, the plan or the list of initiatives which is mentioned in the green IT plan to reduce the carbon footprint and the climate impact of ICT. That execute is where governance lies, and in that governance one mitigates the business risk of the whole corporation, not from a compliance perspective, but also showing that it's a business risk and one needs to manage that properly. And therefore the outcomes are a differentiation in the marketplace, cost reduction from a total cost of ownership perspective, and of course improved efficiency. That all adds to the business performance of the organization, and therefore you need to have such an approach if you want to have a sustainable green IT outcomes or sustainable outcomes from your greening IT assets. Going on to slide 5, again this slide mentions that the green IT impact in reducing energy consumption as well as cost of electricity is not limited to the CIO's domain or to CIO's organization. It has a full impact towards the CEO's outcomes, where the corporate social responsibility goals are set, where the compliance requirements is there with the government regulation, and also the carbon liability setting with the in the balance sheet. So from bottom up, the green outcomes or green IT outcomes actually adds value to the business outcomes and differentiates the business in the marketplace. And this is where you should not be limited to greening IT within the CIO's KPIs, but link that, build the bridge from the CIO to the chief executive's outcomes, and therefore the shareholders value it generates. And this will bring green IT into an enterprise, integrate with the enterprise approach or strategy or any governance from a corporate social responsibility and environment compliance perspective to be as a system rather than just limited to the CIO's performance measures. Going on to slide 6, we also want to suggest that you can't achieve a greening of IT overnight. It is a very disciplined and a sustained effort, and it goes through, we believe, a different maturity levels from the start to the finish. It is a marathon, and one needs to take it through a very disciplined approach to its outcome and have a continuous improvement at the end of the cycle. Here we suggest that different corporations are in different stages of their maturity, and therefore you have to have a green IT plan, which is actually it is synergistic to that maturity level. Number one, people are just getting aware that one needs to have a green IT plan within the organization because the whole corporation has set a KPI. So they are getting aware, and they are starting from scratch. Secondly, certain corporation I see, they have a very ad hoc approach like power management and desktop or printers, double-sided printing, screensavers, you name it. The third is planning and limited practice, where the corporation has taken a baseline of their carbon footprint. So the measurement has started. So once you measure, then you put a green IT plan, and therefore there's a limited practice of green IT within the organization. And the fourth is you start practicing and embedding into the business as usual, and that's where you're going to get the sustainable impact and a very disciplined approach, a very holistic approach across the life cycle of an asset, from procurement of the asset to operation to the end of life, and having a green IT plan for the whole stack of IT, from um, uh, all hardware as well as the ITO, as well as the application layer of your IT organization. And of course the strategic one, which is the final outcome, final maturity, where you contribute towards the business outcomes, where you're greening the organization more than greening the IT. So I want you all to think about the maturity cycle, and using a disciplined approach. The criteria is mentioned on the left box. Start with strategy, then how you manage that strategy in terms of execution, which is very important, and then how you implement in procurement policies and procedures, how you put that policies in your IT ITO services, like power capping on the servers, uh, benchmark your desktop power consumption over a year. So you can set a lot of KPIs, power usage effectiveness in the data center according to the benchmark from Green Grid. Um, and then the optimization of ITO, which is the capacity planning, power consumption versus utilization, the approach you might take in virtualization, or thinning the client, or thinning storage. There are many such initiatives which you will take in your optimization effort of infrastructure, and therefore it will all contribute towards green outcomes. If you set the KPI at different uh, ITO stack, and therefore you know that links to the green IT plan, that links to the maturity life cycle, which I mentioned here, to to go through from a very foundational awareness stage to a very strategic outcome. Going on to slide 7, I just wanted to give you a glimpse of what is in a sample, in a green IT plan. It could be, simple as power management, the desktop printers, to something which is complicated and very much strategic is data center transformation, green data center, and of course thin clients, virtualization, cloud computing. There's a list of it, but you need to have a KPI to recognize the success, the outcome, so that according to the green IT plan, so that you can report that success, change the behaviors, and also record how much cost savings you have you have you have you have got from energy consumption reduction, as well as that goes into the total cost of ownership as a benefit, and therefore one can make a claim that it is based on robust data, and this is the outcome, green outcome, and that could then contribute towards the shareholders outcome, which is through corporate social responsibility reporting. So again, this initiatives can be a laundry list. It's not so exhaustive, but it is horses for courses, depends upon the maturity level of an IT organization across multiple industries. Going on to slide 8, I just want to also show you that governance is very important, so that you have when you start a project, your investment decisions there in capital and OPEX, of course the impact on carbon footprint or climate change, that KPI is there at that, which is embedded in the green IT plan, and then in the green IT scorecard. This whole strategy planning and assurance is done in a sort of a program approach, and monitored by a green IT person who's dedicated across application, hosting, desktop, network, all the stack, so that one can achieve the green IT plan in multiple years, which will track to the maturity uh, maturity table, which I just showed you in the previous slides. So green IT governance needs to be uh, quite must be there, and a person made responsible, which reports to the chief information officer from a strategic perspective, to claim the green IT benefits for a long term. There should be the final stage where start embedding green IT discipline in the organization. Um, some HP credentials I just wanted to share with you. We are taking a very holistic approach, a life cycle approach. We know our carbon footprint, which is about 76,609, 76 million, sorry, tons of carbon emissions across our supply chain, operations, and products and services. Maximum of our carbon emission is in our manufacturing, which is quite because we are manufacturing desktops, laptops, printers, and servers. That's where our suppliers, or manufacturing suppliers, are incurring a lot of energy consumption and carbon footprint. So we have measured that, and 4% happens in our operations. Therefore, we are trying to minimize our impact on our clients, and most of that carbon emission is during the use of our equipment, and hence I'm sharing this thought leadership here, where you need to have a green IT strategy and green maturity thinking or framework with a green IT plan, so that 60% where we impact in our clients' environment or in the client's organization, we can work together on that. But we are the first company in IT industry to show our carbon footprint, so I just wanted to show that we are walking the talk and making concerted changes within our organization. Slide number 10, HP's positive impact. That's what we are saying, that our products and services are partnering with the supply chain and performance of our operations should have a positive impact on our clients' organization by using HP equipment and products and services. And we are constantly striving to reduce that and provide Energy 4-star equipment, EP8 Gold, which is the topmost level in EP8 criteria, so that you can leverage that in your procurement policy and purchasing policy, as well as the green governance, green IT strategy I mentioned in reducing your carbon footprint. Slide number 11, we have got a lot of recognition. I'll not go into detail in all of them, but we are number 1 or number 2 in each of that recognition. So we are taking it very seriously and making these changes with our organization, and we are being recognized. I hope you can also follow the suit in your organization and differentiate yourself in the marketplace. So in slide number 12, in closing, in summary, and key messages to you is: start with a strategy. Don't start with a piecemeal power management, at a desktop or printer, double-sided printing. Of course, they are all good, but you need to have a holistic approach, the big picture in your mind that connects the dot towards the corporate social responsibility goals, which is primarily very voluntary goals, plus the compliance requirement, and then cascade down into your CIO's domain to have a green IT plan. And that starts with having robust data, baseline data of your carbon footprint, which is measured using methodology, and then building a green IT plan out of that. And should not be limited to data center. It should be outside the data center, to taking into consideration the desktop, the network, of course, the hosting side of things, and data center end to end. Have a holistic view, the whole asset life cycle from the time you procure and how you operate in the end of life. This will give you a good handle, and also the best practice on reducing your carbon footprint, that you're buying the correct equipment, having the right procurement policy, you have right KPIs in your operations, power usage effectiveness, power consumption on the desktop, printers, servers, and the policies and procedures for you to have minimal impact on carbon footprint, or in the sense per kilowatt or per watt of energy you are uh, having less carbon intensity. That is the end game, so that you are continuously optimizing it, saving cost of energy as well as the climate impact, which contributes towards the business outcome, the top line of your organization. Um, Take a matured, a measured approach, not plunge into um, you know doing the whole thing or eating the elephant in one go. You need to have a disciplined, matured approach from various stage awareness to going towards the strategic outcome, where you're greening the organization more than the greening of IT organization. The most important thing is engaging your business, where you're supplying your computing power or resources, because their buy-in, their um, engagement, alignment is very important for you to have this outcome, and therefore all the reporting, all the scorecard and dashboard which you will generate, that will align your business unit to um, play the game, as well as in the sense of making this a success. Because no matter what you might say, switch off your PC at 5 o'clock, if they don't come to party, then your initiatives might not come to fruition. Therefore, the green IT reporting, the cost you have saved will create an alignment, and therefore you will optimize your IT from a TCO perspective much successfully with their um, collaboration, and therefore you can contribute successfully towards the CIO's outcome. Um, this is the end of my presentation. I'll be very happy to take questions and answer it to my best of my ability. I thank FFITS for giving me this opportunity, to HP, to contribute towards this event. Thank you very much.